Welcome back to the Taco Podcast. My name's Will, and you are the audience. As you can see, I am not with my lovely co host today. She is off wrangling our 4 year old right now. So I'm doing this video to be released next weekend while I'm going to be out of town. So today, we're going to be taking a look at early childhood education here in America. And what does it mean with the new COVID regulations and everything else that are being put in place for our children to go back to school? Thank you for joining me today. First, I want to give you the information where and what I'm talking about. There were two studies that were done, and they're done periodically every 2 years by the National Academy of Early Learning and the Department of Education here in the United States. But for a large portion of this, I do believe these rules and regulations do fit for children around the world, especially in light of COVID. Now, the last one was done in January, completed in January of 2019. The next one won't be done until 2021. In this study, they looked at children in elementary school, preschool, kindergarten, first, second, and third and fourth grade. They looked at how children learn, what they need to complete and to get an education, and where. And the reason why they do it is to learn where and when to spend money on early childhood education. And there's some very unique things that are in there. And then I will get into how the federal government and Betsy DeVos, the head of the Department of Education, has decided to slash the funding because, well, she personally doesn't feel that public education is something that is important. Do not misunderstand exactly what I said there. The head of the Department of Education here in the United States, public school education, does not believe that public schools should still be around. She has advocated for charter schools before she was nominated and given the position as the head of the Department of Education. And since she took over, she has earmarked and moved money away from public education since then. And she will continue to do so until she has found a way on the federal level to completely defund public education. And you're responsible, and I'm responsible, and everyone else here in America is, because we allowed not only the president to nominate her, but to allow her to continue to do this. But let's get into the actual study. When it comes to public education, again, in that age group, the study looked at what children need and what they need for not only learning but developing the entire picture. So you need to imagine a child as a pyramid. There are certain things that a child needs in order to develop and be able to learn, and then once they figured that part out, and basic things like good health, food, safe transportation to and from school. These are things that they start off. That's the building, the base, if you would, of the triangle. They must be, not malnourished. They must eat properly. You have to develop the entire child. You have to get the child there safely. You need to make sure that the child feels safe in school. If they're worried about where their next meal's coming from, or if they're going to eat tonight, or if their brother or sister is going to eat tonight, these are things that you may not believe it or not, but children know what's going on within the household. If there's violence in the household, if there's turmoil in the household, a child picks up on this, and it affects their ability to learn. So they have to start at the bottom. They have to build the entire child all the way up so the child can learn. But we're looking at just what the child needs. in the classroom. Because of COVID rules and regulations that are being put into place, classrooms must be cleaned and sanitized of areas where children will touch anything. And those age groups again, preschool through fourth grade. Areas and objects that they must touch must be sanitized on a certain, period of time, every couple hours or whatever. Each school district across the United States is taking in their own rules and regulations to try to assure the parents and the public that they're doing everything they can to have schools open, but to keep the children safe, because children are little vectors. If there's a cold that goes into is in being passed around in a school, you can bet your child's going to get it because they've touched something else that another child touched. And I know the studies out there have determined that the coronavirus cannot survive on certain objects. It doesn't stay very long on objects. But when you're looking at children between the ages of fourth grade all the way down to preschool, especially at the younger end, preschool, kindergarten, first grade, these children will pass an object to each other and they'll put them in their mouths, or they'll touch objects that another child is holding and then touch their mouths, their eyes. This is the perfect way to transmit not only the coronavirus, but a cold or the flu, and it happens year after year after year. Excuse me. With that being said, and the teachers and the school systems doing everything they can to clean, sanitize objects. Certain things will be closed. Places where the child may, and at our bigger vectors, ability to hold the virus longer, drinking fountains, places, things that a child may share amongst other children within the classroom. These things will not be around anywhere, or they'll be closed completely. But when it comes to the education of the children in that age group, from preschool to fourth grade, according to the studies, 60% of all children in those age groups learn more hands-on. Hands-on at meaning that they hold an object and learn what the object is. Maybe it's the number 3, or maybe it's they are counting blocks, 1, 2, 3 wooden blocks. Maybe it's a letter, alphabet, A as an apple, so they hold a picture of an apple for A. B for bat, so they hold up a picture of a bat. Or maybe it's a piece of paper. It's something that not only again can hold the coronavirus, but the flu or cold virus. These are things that children learn from in the early years, especially again from preschool to fourth grade. Hands on, 60% learn more and retain more, and they learn quicker hands on. 15% learn faster by repeating, and they retain more by repeating and holding an object. Maybe you could call it fake it till you make it. Timmy knows that this is the number 3, or the answer is 3. Bobby, sitting in the chair next to him, even if it's 6 feet away, he sees this with social distancing, because some school systems are going to even put that into place, social distancing within classrooms and smaller class sizes. He sees this and he repeats this because that's what his friend over there is saying. 15% learn faster that way and retain more that way. Repeat, watch it until they remember it. That still leaves 25% of all children here in America, from preschool all the way up to fourth grade. 25%, ladies and gentlemen, who have barriers to education. Maybe they have a learning disability. Maybe English is a second language to them, or maybe it's a third language. Because you have to remember, as much as you might hear it in the news every day that we need to build walls around our country to keep foreigners out, we are a country of foreigners. We are a melting pot. And what makes us great, and will what make us great again, if we ever were great, is the influx of people from around the world seeking refuge here within our borders, and for whatever it may be, from maybe religious persecution, maybe it's political persecution. But being a melting pot is what made America, and those who strive to come here to better their lives. So there are people, there are children who are in our school systems everywhere around the United States, from Alaska to Miami, Florida, and everywhere in between, who may speak one or two languages at home, but now learning English is a third language. Or maybe they speak Croatian and they're learning English as a second language in school. This is a barrier to education. That 25%, along with those who have learning disabilities, learn in a different way. You have to approach the education for this 25% in a different way. You can't just say, here's the letter, C. What goes for C? Is it cat? If they don't understand English, they've never spoken English, or they have very little experience with English, saying C is for cat isn't going to work. You have to show them hands on. You have to show them through pictures or hands on, or they hold things, or repetitiveness. And you have to then teach them English, how to pronounce the words, how to say the words. But it's a barrier to an education. This 25% of all children, again, in America, 25% from preschool to fourth grade, 25%. Is your child in there? Does your child need extra help? Do they need tutoring? Do they need to learn English as a second language or third? Do they have Down syndrome, autism, or other mental issues where that are barriers to an education? They're not going to learn from a Zoom meeting, and they're not going to learn by somebody just saying it to them. They're going to learn hands-on and through a myriad of other examples. Maybe it's playing, maybe it is another form of interaction between a one-on-one in a quiet setting with that child. 25%. But because of COVID, especially in the earlier years, preschool, first and second grade, a lot of items that the teacher would have had at their disposal before the coronavirus won't be available. And if they are, they're only going to be available in limited capacity. They're not going to be used as much as they were used before. Tablets, blocks, letters, numbers, anything the child may touch. Because, again, remember, the school systems in your area have to sterilize these items in a certain amount of time. Every couple hours, maybe it might be that they've decided, so every couple hours they have to stop. These items must be cleaned. Who's going to be doing the cleaning? Ask yourself that. The school systems don't have any money. Remember, while the school was shut down, they weren't getting any money. They weren't getting any extra money. There wasn't any money in bailout programs from the federal government to help schools clean and to do all the things that they need to do, to hire more staff to come in and clean every couple hours objects that children are picking up and putting in their mouths and passing back and forth. There wasn't any money for that. Not at all. And when the school systems here in America went to Betty DeVos, the head of the Department of Education, they got a resounding no. There's no funding for you. There's no funding at all. Because, again, Betsy DeVos doesn't want public education system here in America to survive. We knew this before she was nominated. We knew this during her nomination process. We knew this from before in her writings and everything else. She has pushed for a voucher program for charter schools. She wants charter schools because she believes that it will bring in a better education system for those who are younger. Looking back at the pyramid for children, again, at the top of that pyramid is the education. The more we teach children when they're younger and give them the fundamental blocks to learning, the better off their life will be. Study after study after study has proven if you reach a child earlier on in life, the better life they will have. Less crime, less drug and substance abuse, and a child that is more, who will grow into being an adult with a better understanding and desire to learn. If we reach the child earlier, the earlier we reach them and we give them the tools to develop and actually build and survive in this world, the better off that child will be. Now, the school systems have to decide. We go back to school, we have to take away objects that, and tools that we had at our disposal before. And this, again, can be everything from drinking fountains to tablets that they had in the classrooms. Will be off limits because they just don't have the staff to clean these items to keep them in the classroom while your child is there. And this is a fact of us going back after COVID. That 25%. I am a parent of a child with autism. And autism is a spectrum disorder. There are children on the low end, there are children on the high end of the spectrum. My child does not learn through a Zoom meeting. It's like watching a video on YouTube to him. He doesn't understand it. And even if they're interacting with him and trying to, say his name and everything else, it's not enough for him. He learns by holding things in his hand. He learns one-on-one. He learns more and retains more by interacting with the actual thing that he's supposed to be learning about. Alphabets, numbers, letters, words. He reads and understands and comprehends more hands-on. And he is just one of hundreds of thousands of children across America who are in the same boat, who are going to go back to school, who are not going to get the value of education as every other child. It's not fair. We know that. And it's very clear. What are we supposed to do? The only option as a parent is to supplement the education that they are getting within the public school. Especially if you have a child, again, from pre-K to 4th grade. The more you interact with that child at home and teach that child at home, the more and the better education that they will have. There's no way around it. Again, 2017 and 2019, by the Department of Education and National Education of Early Childhood Learning found the same things. Hands on, children learn faster, quicker, and retain more. Take away the hands on learning, we're setting them up for failure. They're not going to learn, they're not going to have the building blocks that they are going to need as they progress through school. They'll be delayed. Will they catch up? Children are resilient, but not all children. Again, we have that 25%. Maybe, that in that 25%, it's a language issue because we are a melting pot. And we can't forsake that 25% just so we can get back to normal life. We can't say, your child is not important. Your grandchild is not important. We can't say that, and we can't do that. That's not right as a society to allow something like that to happen. To say that that child is not, of value compared to this child. My child will not be forsaken. I will not throw him under the bus or allow the school system to throw him under the bus for the help another child in another area, or to tell my child that his value in society in this world is less than another child's. I won't let it happen. If I have to beat the doors down of the school system and the school board, I'm going to do it. I'm going to advocate for my child, as you should for your child and every child, to make sure if we are going back to school that these children get the best education that is available. And we can't allow people like Betsy DeVos to strip the school system of federal funding, to say, we're not going to allow this anymore. By pushing for charter schools, it's going to hurt the smallest population in our public school system, those who are poor. By pushing for a voucher program, by sending children to a charter school, the cost on the parent is shifted from the school, from them going to school and then getting an education and building the blocks to develop and then become a productive adult someday. It switches from that to the parent of that child having to go to a charter school because they now must pay for things out of their pocket that they don't have the money for. Maybe it's uniforms. Maybe it's other curricular activities within the school that are not covered because, well, it's not a public school. It's a private school, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what she wants. She wants to forsake your children and mine for the money. And that's what it is. Because she gets kickbacks from the charter school system. So as we send our children back to school and we look at that pyramid of building that child, we need to make sure that we start at the bottom and work our way up through that pyramid, because children need so much. And again, we have to complete every piece of that puzzle and make sure the child's safe and that they are able to get the education that they deserve, and that we are treating all children equally and giving each and every child the ample opportunity to develop, grow, and succeed. Thank you for joining me today. You stay safe out there, and I will see you again in another week, and I'll be back with my co-host. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. If we pick your comment out of the comment section on this video, we'll give you a shout out in the next upcoming video. So, thank you again, everyone. Stay safe out there.